Some glasses make history, or at least they're a part of it. So in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing 10 of the most iconic frame styles ever created. So hi, I'm Robert, style and vision consultant here at the Spectacle Factory, and it's my job to pair you with your perfect pair of glasses. And all of these glasses have endured for a reason. Everything we're going to be showcasing today have been made for decades, and that is not by accident. That is not by chance, because so many other frame styles have come and gone along the way. But these 10 have endured, and we're going to find out why. Kicking us off at number 10 is the Moscot Lemtosh, an absolutely classic acetate style that's been worn by many famous faces over the years, and many normal everyday people as well. It's one of the most common glasses styles available today, and I think that's for a good reason, because Moscot have always got the shape of that frame just right. The proportions of it tend to suit a wide variety of faces. It's not too round and it's not too square. And at the same time, it's very original as well. So I think that combination of all of those factors is why the Moscot Lemtosh is so iconic. Quality's had its ups and downs over the years. We're not going to get into that too much in this video, but I think Moscot's affinity for tints is also a big part of the Lemtosh's success, because you can configure the Lemtosh with a wide variety of custom lenses, and they can be made as both optical glasses and sunglasses. Moscot is one of the oldest eyewear manufacturers left on the planet, more than 100 years old, still family owned, which is awesome, love all of that, and the Lemtosh is their signature piece. At number 9, something a little bit more left field and definitely a lot less popular, but nevertheless just as influential as the Lemtosh, is the Geoffrey Asymmetric, or Asymmetric in English. Geoffrey are known for their absolutely adventurous and you could say crazy frame designs, but for the most part also very wearable. This frame I wouldn't say is, I think this is more of an art piece, but it showcases the originality of Geoffrey more than almost anything else he's ever created. Jean-Francois Rey set up his own eyewear company back in 1985, and that is what the 1985 collection bears homage to. As you can see, the asymmetric frame is not for everyone. In fact, it's not for many people. You do have to have a very particular personality to pull this off. Although, having said that, if you do, this is one of the best frames you could ever own. It's definitely not my taste, especially in this specific colorway. But what it does do is exhibit everything that Geoffrey is about. For those who don't know, because Geoffrey is a slightly more unknown brand compared to a lot of the brands on this list, Jean-Francois Rey is an absolute pioneer in eyewear design, and many of his creations over the years have fed into the more mainstream eyewear brands, even some of the fashion brands. I've seen designs of his that 3-4 years later are then being emulated by brands that are actually really popular. And Geoffrey is popular enough, you know, they have stockists all over the world and are renowned by a lot of eyewear collectors. But this is kind of where it all began, with that bravery to do something well outside the box that may work, it may not. And I think over time, Jean-Francois Rey has honed his craft, and his eyewear now is all extremely wearable, but still as creative as ever. Back in the day, this was a real brave choice, and actually it sold fairly well. And for me, it easily makes this list of the 10 most iconic frame designs. Now at number 8, a frame that I guarantee you will have seen before, is the Savile Row Warwick. Savile Row are a London-based optical company, although they aren't necessarily privately owned anymore. That's all a bit complicated. Nevertheless, Savile Row have made what may be, and I actually think definitely will be, the most viewed eyewear ever in history. Can you guess what I'm talking about? I'm referring to Harry Potter's glasses. The Warwick is a frame that they'd actually been making for decades, produced in rolled gold and handmade acetate. It was already a legendary frame design, but when Daniel Radcliffe wore it in the first Harry Potter movie and has been wearing it ever since in the Harry Potter series, that catapulted it to a whole new level. Every day I have people who come into our store and they'll say, oh, those glasses are like Harry Potter glasses. And I think to myself, is that like a bad thing? Because I think Harry Potter is an absolute glasses icon. There's very few glasses styles that are as cool as that has become. Of course, it was chosen in the first place to be kind of like a nerdy look and a very old-fashioned look, but it's transcended that massively since, because now, for me, it's a really stylish look. To have any frame that's been viewed as many times as that frame has, and to have also, you know, endured for as many decades as that frame has, the Warwick is an absolute legendary eyewear design. Next up, and the first but not last appearance of Ray-Ban on this list, is with the Clubmaster. And the Clubmaster is one of their oldest designs, and it's definitely one of their quintessential designs. Clubmaster is defined by a frame that has that brow line, as it's sometimes called. You know, it's thicker at the top, thinner at the bottom. It doesn't necessarily suit everyone, but for those people who do suit it and can pull that off, it can look excellent. Since then, the Clubmaster has been emulated by lots of brands. I think Hugo Boss pulled off a really amazing Clubmaster-esque design recently, and there are some really high-end examples as well, for example, from the Masanaga collection. The Clubmaster was actually brought out in 1947 by a company called Churon, but Ray-Ban really popularized it, and I think it's fair to give them the majority of the credit, although Churon, very pioneering company back in the day. At number 6, we have the Oliver Peoples Gregory Peck. Definitely one of the most worn frame styles in history, for sure. There's so many different brands now that have a variation on the Gregory Peck. And to be fair, there were brands well before that produced acetate round frames, of course. But with the Gregory Peck, Oliver Peoples got the proportions just right. And that is why that frame was such a bestseller, and still is today. Also, the quality that Oliver Peoples were known for back then, pre-Luxottica days, is what made the brand what it is today. Still revered as one of the most collectible eyewear brands. And whilst the quality may not live up to what it did in the past, although to be fair to Luxottica, they've been working on that recently and it's not as bad as it has been, there's still a brand that is a favorite among eyewear aficionados, whether they should be or not. There are a few really good alternatives, I would say, from brands like Garrett Light and Mr. Light, as well as Barton Prera, of course. And if you want the best version of the Gregory Peck, then I would definitely recommend the Altair by Masanaga from their K3 series. But the Gregory Peck has a tremendous amount of history, as do Oliver Peoples as well themselves, and it definitely deserves its place on this list. And now we're into the top 5, and our first entry in that top 5 is the Cartier horn and wood frames. As far as I'm aware, every single model that comes in horn also comes in wood, and I think that's been the case ever since the collection was introduced. And these are probably the best frames to buy if you're looking for something that you can resell. Just like a Rolex tends to retain its value really well over time, so do these frames. You can never really lose your money too much on them. But that's not what makes them cool. What makes them cool is Cartier's approach to eyewear. In this particular example, we customized this frame with adaptive sun blue lenses and a diamond flash coating. That gives this kind of icy blue look. And these lenses will actually activate in the sun to become super dark when you need them to be. Cartier's history with eyewear is unlike any other designer brand. It was actually almost 200 years ago now that Cartier produced their first eyeglasses. Their first widely available collection of eyewear came out in the 1980s, and the wood and buffalo horn frames were some of the first that they introduced. And now it's time for Ray-Ban's second listing on this video, and that is with, of course, the Wayfarer. I'm pretty sure when I say the word Wayfarer, you instantly have an image in your mind of what that looks like. Whether it's on a celebrity or someone passing you in the street, the Wayfarer is probably, I would guess, the most common glasses style there is. And that's for similar reasons to the Lemtosh. With the Wayfarer, it pretty much suits anybody. And it can be worn equally as optical or sunglasses. Once upon a time, Ray-Ban actually stood for outstanding quality. Back in the day when they were owned by Bausch & Lomb, made in the USA, they were built to last. And that is evidenced by the fact that frames by Ray-Ban from that era are almost all still around today. They were good enough, you know, to last for many, many years, if not decades. Sadly, that's not the case anymore, but we're not going to get too much into that. And there are better Wayfarer alternatives. Gast make a few, for example, with their end piece and the hug. Both really good alternatives to a Ray-Ban, which I would say are actually significantly better quality than the Ray-Bans are nowadays. But nevertheless, the Wayfarer is just one of the most historic styles imaginable, and no one can deny its influence over the years. Now we're into the top 3, and this one could be controversial, but I've gone for the Kabal 607. The glasses that really changed people's perception of eyewear. Sure, the Wayfarer was stylish, and there were a few celebrities wearing it that were kind of cool, but they were also from, how do I put this, a more mainstream culture. The people who started wearing the 607 were from that hip-hop scene of the 70s and 80s, who were really counterculture. And for glasses that went against the grain, that were for people who had a big enough personality to stand against the crowd rather than go with it, the 607 is the perfect accessory for those individuals, because these are glasses that you cannot miss. The 607 with its super thick acetate, or in this case, this is a buffalo horn limited edition version, we'll get onto that in a second, but with its thick rim and in particular the outward tapering shape, which is really crucial to how signature the look of these frames was. The 607 made huge waves in the eyewear industry and transformed glasses from something that you would kind of hide or you were forced to wear or you'd be ashamed of wearing to something that you would shout about. People were wearing these glasses without prescription lenses and without sunglass lenses. I'm pretty sure that's the first time in history that that was done on a wide scale level. And they might not be to everybody's taste, but you cannot deny the influence that these frames have had on the eyewear industry. Nowadays, you have brands like Jacques-Marie Mage that are really popularizing glasses for people who might not have thought they were cool otherwise. But 607 did that first, and they paved the way for brands like Jacques-Marie Mage, even like Moscot, and even like Ray-Ban to be considered as fashionable as they are now. I think these are the world's first truly fashionable frames, and that is why they are number 3 on the top 10 most iconic glasses of all time. Now, this specific one, I told you, is very, very, very special because this is a limited edition buffalo horn 607. This entire frame is made out of buffalo horn, apart from the gold accents, which are made from 23 karat gold. An absolutely perfect homage to one of the most incredible frame designs ever. Rest in peace, Cartier. And at number 2, the second Cartier design on this list is the Big C or Picadilly. This is just the most instantly recognizable Cartier frame, and it's one that just transcends eyewear into jewelry. It's a beautiful piece of craftsmanship that makes rimless glasses actually quite accessible, believe it or not. I'll get onto why in a second because these are expensive. Not only accessible, but redefines what eyewear is. These glasses are like a piece of jewelry, and that is what glasses can be. Also, this started off the whole concept of customization, being able to take the chassis of the frame, the temples and the bridge, and put any lens shape inside, to add faceting like we did here, to add a purple tint like we've done, add photochromic because these glasses will actually change in the sun. All those different customization features were really part, and still are part, of the scene of the Cartier collectors. Because otherwise you just have a boring pair of rimless glasses, but taking that boring pair of rimless glasses, adding your own creative touch is, in my opinion, the most special feeling in eyewear. It's where you really make something one of a kind that only you in the world will have. That is something special, and credit to Cartier for maybe accidentally, but definitely incidentally creating that community of eyewear enthusiasts. Now, I said that these are quite attainable, and I really stand by that because, like the buffalo horn and wood frames, the resale value of these is relatively high for what you pay for them. But also, not only will they last for decades, we recently worked on a pair that was actually produced in the 80s for someone, reinvigorated it with new lenses. Not only will they last for decades, but you will be able to keep constantly transforming them by introducing new lens shapes, tints, and all different elements to them. That means that although you might spend £1,000, which is about $1,200, $1,300 on a pair of these glasses, when you actually divide that amount over time, these are some of the most affordable glasses you can buy. And because they're made from platinum or gold, they don't tarnish, they don't fade, they'll still look new in 10 years' time, as long as you look after them to a reasonable degree. What other glasses can you say that about? And that is why Cartier are, on one hand, super luxurious, but also pretty popular as well. It actually does make good sense to own a pair of these glasses, regardless of whether you think £1,000 is a lot of money to spend on a frame or not. And the other thing that I love about this frame design is the way that Cartier figured out a way to incorporate a logo with the big C's without a logo. It doesn't need to have Cartier splashed in big letters all over the side of it like you see with Dolce & Gabbana, Prada, and all those other hideous Luxottica brands. This is done in a classic and classy way, and I love these frames for it. It's what means that Cartier are, whilst being a so-called designer brand, are really like an independent eyewear brand and should be treated as such. Now, I bet you're dying to find out which is the #1 most iconic frame of all time. Before I tell you, I'd just like to ask you kindly to subscribe to this channel. We provide all of this education and information on glasses completely for free. I film it in my own time in the evenings and the weekends. And so far the channel is growing really quickly, but we need to keep that up. So if you're not subscribed already, please do so now. But without further ado, my #1 most iconic frame style of all time is the Aviator. And the credit for this should be divided, in my opinion, between Ray-Ban, who obviously popularized it and still continue to do so, and American Optical that actually first came out with the Aviator concept. The Aviator is special and cool and great and awesome in so many different ways. So where to begin? Well, first of all, it's very functional. It is probably the most functional shape for at least sunglasses and very often glasses, because it gives you a wide field of view, good coverage over the whole of the eyes, and a good amount of lens beneath the eye for when you're looking at things up close and you're looking downwards. So it covers the whole eye socket really well, and therefore it's no surprise that this style was picked up by military officers and pilots almost immediately. But at the same time, it's a shape that is also cool, at least in my opinion. Well, it's not just my opinion, because that point has been proved over the decades and almost a century now since the Aviator was first conceived back in the 1930s. American Optical, like I said, were the first to invent it, but Ray-Ban really took the ball and ran with it. This particular Aviator that I'm wearing has become my go-to pair of glasses. The industrial fuse frames, released earlier this year, these are made from surgical steel, which is super flexible and strong, with beautiful, elegant filigree detailing, gorgeously finished end tips. These glasses are so comfortable, so durable, both in the short term and the long term, and very stylish thanks to the pilot shape. Aviator frames are an enduring classic for a reason. It is the one frame style that pretty much anyone can wear. If you're stuck, you want to add a pair to your collection, you're not sure what to add, just go with an Aviator. You can't go wrong. It'll never go out of fashion. It always looks cool. It works with a tint, without a tint, with the sunglass tint, with photochromic lenses as I have. It's just an amazing frame style, and one that, in my opinion, everyone should own. So that's it. What do you make of this list? Do you agree with it? Is there any frame style that you would put into this list? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to this channel for more of the best eyewear content on the internet. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye bye.